first whisper came on a Tuesday. Leo, all of 6 years old and already too attuned to the creaks of the old house, heard it first. A soft, rustling sound from beneath his bed, like dry leaves skittering across the floorboards. He squeezed his eyes shut, pulling his dinosaur duvet tighter. Everyone knew about the monster under the bed. It was universal truth, right up there with the sky being blue and bedtime being unfair. But this monster was different. It didn't growl or scratch. It hummed, a low, tuneless melody, almost like a lullaby that would drift up through the slates of his bed. And sometimes a faint, sweet smell like warm milk and lavender would accompany the hum. He started talking to it, at first in hushed whispers after his mom tucked him in. "Are you hungry?" he'd ask, sliding a stray goldfish cracker off his nightstand. In the morning the cracker would be gone. The monster was polite and quiet, and never made a sound when his mom was in the room. His mom, Sarah, was a whirlwind of anxieties. She worked long hours, her phone a constant buzz against her ear, her brow always furrowed with unspoken worries. She fretted over dust bunnies, over unmade beds, and over the slightest sniffle Leo might have. "Are you sleeping well, sweetheart?" she'd ask, her eyes scanning his face for dark circles. Leo would nod, even though he spent half the night listening to the gentle stirring beneath him. One night, a terrible storm raged outside. Thunder boomed, rattling the windows, and the wind howled like a banshee. Leo, terrified, whimpered. From beneath his bed, a long, slender finger, pale and almost translucent in the faint glow of the nightlight, curled around the edge of his mattress. It wasn't scaly or clawed. It was human. And then a soft, dry voice, barely a whisper, floated up. "It's okay, little one. Just the wind." Leo gasped, pulling his hand away, but the voice was so soothing, so calm, that his fear began to recede. He started to ask questions. What was the monster's name? "You can call me Shadow." "And where did it come from?" "From the quiet places." "And why did it stay under his bed?" "To keep you safe." Weeks turned into months. Shadow became his confidant. When a bully at school snatched his lunch money, Shadow's whispered advice was surprisingly firm. "Stand tall. Tell him to give it back." And when he failed a math test, Shadow offered a comfort. "Learning takes time. You are clever." Leo felt stronger, braver, knowing Shadow was there. But the fear in Oakhaven grew. Children whispered about Leo's strange talks with himself, and teachers noticed his sudden self-assurance, so unlike his previous self. And Sarah noticed everything. Her anxiety sharpened, her gaze lingering on Leo with a growing unease. She started checking under his bed herself, shining a flashlight into the dusty abyss. "Nothing's there, sweetheart," she'd say, but her voice had a tremor. One night, Leo woke to the sound of hushed voices from downstairs. His mother and Aunt Carol, her face etched with concern. "He's not right, Carol," Sarah was saying, her voice strained. "He talks to himself. He sleeps with that thing under his bed." "You found something?" Aunt Carol asked, her voice low. "No, nothing solid, but I feel it. A coldness, a presence." Leo's heart hammered against his ribs. They were talking about Shadow. They wanted to get rid of Shadow. That night, after Sarah kissed him goodnight, Leo lay awake, listening. He heard her footsteps retreat, then linger outside his door. He closed his eyes, feigning sleep. The minutes stretched agonizingly slow. Then the door creaked open. He heard the rustle of clothes, the soft pad of bare feet across the floor. A familiar scent, milk and lavender, filled the room. He felt the shift of weight under his bed, a gentle sigh like air escaping a deflating balloon, and then the faint, familiar hum began. He held his breath, his eyes squeezed shut, a terrible, dawning realization spreading through him. He knew that scent. He knew that hum. He knew the soft, pale finger that had curled around his mattress. He heard the distant sound of a loose floorboard creaking, a sound only audible from under the bed. He heard the fabric of a thin, worn nightgown brushing against the dusty springs. And then, clear as a bell, from directly beneath him came his mother's voice, a little deeper, a little drier than usual, but undeniably hers. "Are you still awake, little one?" Leo lay there frozen, the truth crashing over him with the force of a tidal wave. The monster under his bed wasn't a creature from a nightmare. It was his mother, his anxious, worried, always there for him mother. But how? And why? He slowly opened his eyes, staring at the underside of his bed frame, his small mind grappling with the impossible. The humming continued, a low, comforting vibration. His mother, the real one, the one who cooked his dinner, read him stories, was under his bed, keeping him safe, or perhaps keeping something else at bay. Leo remained silent, feigning sleep again, as the humming continued its soft, unsettling rhythm. He was too scared to speak, too scared to reveal that he knew. The monster under his bed wasn't a monster at all. It was his mother, and the implications of that truth were far more terrifying than any imaginary creature.